I wanted to ask you about some of what you did for Herb Klein. Do you recall working on the response to the silent majority speech? There was
The silent majority speech.
It's in 1969.
Yeah, well, we with a lot of those speeches that Nixon made, we geared up letter writing and telephone calls and so on to show public support for what Nixon was doing. And I probably spent most of my time making sure we were organized well enough to, get 5,000 letters out the day after the speech.
But this is so that the White House could announce that 5,000 people sent letters saying they supported the speech?
Basically, I mean, it was hopefully more sophisticated than that, but the idea was to try to show the groundswell of support for Nixon. Because remember, he didn't have the personal support that Kennedy had. So he had to rely on a lot of what we did for him to show that his policies were working and that we were getting out of the war and so on.
But these 5,000 people, were they?
By the way, that's just
let's say that's a number. But these people that would write letters, were they people that you would just call on, that you knew? How? Where did these people come from?
We had a whole setup in every state where we had people who, in a sense, worked for us, not paid, but worked for us, worked with us, and they were the people we went to. They might have been the state chairman, they might have been a congressman, they could have been any number of people like that. Bob Dole particularly was one that we were very close to. He was a senator from Kansas then, and so we used those resources to do just that.
Did you sort of create? Did you create a sort of mailing list of people?
Oh yeah, we had a huge mailing list, and at that time it was probably the most sophisticated kind of organization to get the word out. I was very pleased when Haldeman asked me and the president asked me to run the campaign, because it acknowledged that we had really put together a very effective communication structure.
Was one of your challenges creating a better relationship between Richard Nixon and the media?
That was the challenge. That was probably the greatest challenge. There was no love lost between the media and the president.
Across the border,
Well, there were obviously some people in the press that were, and some newspapers were supportive. But on the whole, both the news editorials and the TV, that was when the evening news was becoming a major part of the factor of communication, were not pro-Nixon people.
And how did you decide to go around them because they couldn't be shaped, or was the strategy to somehow to reshape their views of Nixon?
Well, we tried to do both. And we were fairly successful in getting particularly the TV anchors and people like that to at least acknowledge the work we had been doing. If you think about it, we were the first government in revising Social Security and other activities that I now forget. There were a lot of major issues that we dealt with, and were quite successful in getting the president's view across.
What role was the vice president to play in dealing with the media?
Well, the vice president didn't play a particularly major role. He was effective with a certain group of people, and he mainly went to the beat of the drummer, who was Richard Nixon, and Haldeman had much more power than the vice president had. As an example, Ehrlichman, Kissinger. I mean, they were decision makers. The vice president carried out things the president wanted done.